they airdropped aid into the Gaza Strip, and it killed people. It fell on top of people, and it killed them. The most effective form of aid delivery and distribution already exists within the Gaza Strip. There are already tens of thousands of people that literally work for the United Nations that are currently starving. I'm not so inclined to talk about. But one, U.S. government review found no evidence of widespread Hamas theft of Gaza aid. An internal U.S. government review found no evidence of widespread theft by Hamas of U.S. funds, Gaza, contradicting the State Department's claims that were used to justify the controversial private organization that took over aid distribution in the enclave. So that's number one. The analysis conducted by U.S. Agency for Aid, U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, looked into 165 incidents of waste, fraud, and abuse reported by partner organizations between October 2023 and May 2025. The review of incidents, which was first reported by Reuters, found no affiliations with sanctioned groups or foreign terrorist organizations, according to presentations seen by CNN. That's number one. Number two, there is actually a group that was stealing aid, or at least disrupting the aid delivery mechanism. That group is now known as the Popular Forces. That group is led by a Yasser Abu Shabab, a Palestinian who is a collaborator of the Israeli state. Yasser Abu Shabab is an ISIS affiliate gang leader who was in prison under the Hamas governance. Now he has a group called the Popular Forces that is armed by Israel. And of course, if you don't know who he is, you might have seen him as a Wall Street Journal opinion editor, because he was able to, from his Rafah military base, the Israeli military base that they stationed in Rafah for him, in the red zone where no Palestinian is allowed to even walk without being shot by Israeli forces, him and his ISIS affiliate gang can actually operate, was able to write this Wall Street Journal opinion editorial. This is an unprecedented dark time in media in the history. It's the darkest. And he writes, Gazans are finished with Hamas. My Popular Forces control significant parts of eastern Rafah, and we are ready to build a new future. Yasser Abu Shabab, of course, does not have any control over Gaza, any territory in Gaza. As a matter of fact, Hamas has been smoking the Popular Forces, the ISIS-affiliated Popular Forces, with regular frequency. As a matter of fact, they took out, I think, half of the soldiers that they were able to hire with the stolen aid that Israel allowed them to steal, because their point is to cause chaos and division at the point of aid delivery in an effort to starve the population of Gaza, make it uninhabitable. So that's something that you must recall. Of course, Wall Street Journal famously also, denies that there's any sort of severe wrongdoing in Israel. So remember that. But is there an aid delivery group, Hasan? You might ask. You've been talking about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, for example, and that's the only aid delivery distribution mechanism that exists currently, because Israel does not allow any of the previous aid distribution groups that are unaffiliated third parties, as they're supposed to be, specifically the United Nations-backed aid distribution groups that had 400 distribution sites all around the Gaza Strip, have all been shuttered, all been closed down by the Israeli occupying forces. Instead, there are only 4 sites, 3 of which are in operation, the other one is not, and they are all managed by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. This is a front group designed by the Israeli government and the American government to be a U.S. mercenary-backed aid distribution trap, a scheme. Perfidy is the term for it. It's illegal under international human rights. They are using the aid delivery mechanism to kill people. Throughout the day, there are numerous times throughout the day in these 3 sites for 2 million people. Remember, 3 sites only, where the only food, the meager amount of aid that goes into the Gaza Strip is only distributed in 3 sites for 10 minutes at a time. A green light comes on for 10 minutes. Some of the most sought after goods are already taken by collaborators, such as the ones that I just mentioned, Abu Shabab's militants. And then the rest of the people, sometimes 20,000, 30,000 people at a time, are only given 10 minutes to get whatever kind of aid is readily available on these sites. There is no baby formula, by the way. That's another thing. And that's the reason why you see so many emaciated children, babies, with their rib cages prominently featured. And after the 10 minutes is over, the green light turns into red, which means you have 5 minutes to evacuate the region. And if you don't evacuate after the 5-minute yellow light is over, the Israeli troops and the American troops, the mercenaries that are working with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, will open fire. This process is systematic. It has happened every single day since the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has started its operations, its fake aid distribution operations. It is incredibly dystopian, and they've killed more than 1,000 Palestinian civilians in the process of fake aid delivery. Doctors and members of Oxfam, humanitarian aid workers, journalists are all starving in the Gaza Strip at the moment. Cool story, cool made up story. What are some sources for this Squid Games crap? Sounds made up. Cool made up story. At least you got some creative writing done, says Cyber Nomad. 22 months into a genocide, and there are still people who call into question these first-hand accounts. Of course, by the time first-hand accounts from Palestinian journalists make its way to Israeli news, because they get corroborated by Israeli occupying force soldiers, that takes at least a month or two. And then maybe you'll hear it, not in the bylines of the New York Times, but like way, way below the fold as they bury the lead 8 months down the line in a New York Times piece that still seemingly obfuscates Israel's responsibility in this campaign. Wait, never mind. Here's The Guardian. 11-minute race for food. How 8 points in Gaza became death traps. A visual story. Hundreds of people have died while seeking food since delivery was taken over by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation in May, but Palestinians facing extreme hunger have no choice but to take risk. There's a Haaretz article that details from first-hand personal testimony of Israeli occupying force terrorists who openly admit to shooting. Who openly admit to shooting people. Got it. Thanks. I'll have a read. Dipshit. No, I banned him. That guy, that asshole. Went from, literally everyone turned a blind eye because of his powerful connections. This child's all the way down to, as soon as I start talking about Israel, immediately goes, you must have made that up. Dumb. Confident in knowing nothing because they're morons, okay? They're morons. And the truth is so depraved. The truth is so up that they would rather go, this idiot, he's probably lying about this. The reason why I was talking about this, of course, is because there's more to the story. And obviously, I'm going to get to the literal former U.S. Green Beret testimony from the BBC that details his experience with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, saying that Israel is committing war crimes at the Gaza food distribution site. As famine spreads, Israel destroys supplies from 1,008 trucks it refused to let into Gaza. Con News, Israel's public broadcaster, spoke with Israeli military officials who admitted they destroyed food, water, and medical supplies from more than 1,008 trucks left to rot at Kerem Shalom, while Gaza's health ministry warns of mass death unfolding in real time. Israel had blocked UN officials from collecting the trucks to distribute aid in Gaza. We buried everything in the ground, and some of it we even burned, Israeli army told Con News. Even today, thousands of packages are sitting in the sun. If they are not transferred into the strip, we will destroy those too. The mechanism simply doesn't work, one military source admitted. The trucks are stuck. There's a mechanism that doesn't function. There are problems with the roads, and coordination isn't working either. We have here the largest grain warehouse that exists, he added. If the goods currently sitting there aren't collected, we will clear it out and bury the supplies on airdrops. This has already been attempted and was a complete failure, just like the port that was built. The Gaza Health Ministry says this is famine. Over 122 people, including 83 children, have died from hunger. 9 people have died in the last 24 hours alone, according to Gaza's health ministry. Children are dying before our eyes. Mothers miscarry in tents because they can't afford a single meal, said the ministry's director general. Acute malnutrition among children under 5 has surged from 0.5% to 11.5% in just 1 month. We expect many more deaths in the coming days and even hours. This famine has spared no one. Even medical workers haven't eaten. Some send what little food they have to their families. The world just watches, waiting for everyone to die, the minister said. The depravity doesn't end there. Let's take a look at the first-hand account from a former U.S. Green Beret that revealed his experience at the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid delivery sites.
Visit of condemnation tonight about the situation.
This is why I say this is another Holocaust unfolding in front of our eyes. Israel is doing a live-streamed Holocaust of primarily children, a population that comprised majority under the age of 18, minors.
In Gaza. The head of the UN has said the starving of Palestinians is a moral crisis that challenges the global conscience. And Sir Keir Starmer has released a statement calling the images of starvation utterly horrifying. He says the UK will evacuate children from Gaza who are in urgent need of medical attention. Israel says it'll allow countries to airdrop aid in the coming days, but aid agencies say this won't be enough. Israel controls the entry of supplies into Gaza. It says the starvation is not its fault, and it blames Hamas for stealing food. The BBC, like other news organisations around the world, is prevented by Israel from reporting inside Gaza and from seeing for ourselves what is really going on. So we rely on trusted freelancers in the territory, and working with them, our international editor Jeremy Bowen sent this report from Jerusalem, and a warning there are distressing scenes from the start.
This image of a starving boy and his mother in Gaza has been seen by millions around the world. His name is Mohammed, he's 18 months old, and he weighs 6 kilos. His mother, Hidayah al-Mutawi, has lost her home and her husband, who was killed, and Mohammed and many others will not survive much longer unless unrestricted aid starts flowing into Gaza.
He can't stand up on his feet or sit because of the fatigue. We can't get baby formula for Mo because the prices are too high. I go from one hospital to another trying to get him formula, but
Yes, airdropping aid is a massive failure because it ends up killing people. America tried doing it as a PR stunt, mind you, because at that point, they already had functioning roads and trucks waiting to deliver aid, and Israel was, just like right now, refusing to allow this aid into the Strip. And they airdropped aid into the Gaza Strip, and it killed people. It fell on top of people, and it killed them. The most effective form of aid delivery and distribution already exists within the Gaza Strip. There are already tens of thousands of people that literally work for the United Nations that are currently starving. Okay? They're working for UNRWA. There are distribution spots. There has always been a mechanism of aid delivery that could work within the Gaza Strip. The only reason why it doesn't work at the moment is because Israel doesn't allow it. Israel literally shoots at aid distribution. Israel shoots at aid distribution sites. Israel shoots at its own aid distribution sites.
I can hardly find any.
Mohammed and his mother, Hidayah, were filmed by one of the trusted Palestinian freelancers we work with in Gaza, who are themselves starving. Israel does not allow international journalists to enter the territory.
I wonder if you feel...
So we went to a spot overlooking Gaza.
Why is the U.S. silent about the starvation in Gaza? CNN Newsnight panel debates? That's crazy. But at least they got Peter Beinart on. I mean, that's also wild. Abby Phillips having Peter Beinart on is, I guess, like a change of time. It's beyond just simply talking about like how anti-Zionism is an anti-Semitism. And Kat, she has Kat on as well. Oh God, don't put Scott Jennings on this goddamn panel, dude. Don't do that. Oh my God.
A vantage point in the frontline town of Sderot, where Hamas attacked and killed Israeli civilians on the 7th of October 2023. Israelis come here to look at the war, only a few miles away. It was hazy, so it was hard to see, and the steady sound of Israeli artillery was carried away on the wind. Since my last visit, vending machines have been installed if anyone needs refreshment. From here, it feels like looking out of one world into another, not distant, but remote and isolated. So, from up here, there are essentially two visions of what's happening in that world. Israel, supported by the United States, says there's plenty of food in Gaza, and if people are going hungry, that's because Hamas has been stealing it and because the UN and others have not been distributing it in the way that they should be. Now, the other version, which is supported by Western governments, including Britain and France, and by aid agencies with decades of experience.
Yeah, like everyone but Israel and America, you mean, which is the truth. Palestinians in their firsthand testimony, every single humanitarian rights organization that operates within the Gaza Strip, including the members of said humanitarian rights organizations, doctors and members of Doctors Without Borders, like Westerners that are still working in the medical field within the Gaza Strip. And every single Western nation even has an understanding of exactly what the fuck is going on. The only people that are lying about what's going on is Israel and America. That's it.
Experience of operating in war zones is that Israel's restrictions on the entry and the movement of food and other essential items in Gaza has created a humanitarian catastrophe that means that now people aren't just going hungry. The vulnerable, children, are starving to death. This is not a battlefield, though it might look like one. It's a food distribution point in Gaza. Bullets are kicking up the sand as men wait to get food. It's one of 4 sites run by the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation.
Remember when that other guy was saying, oh, you made up that Squid Game shit? There's footage of it. Now ask yourself, there's footage of it. Crazy. It is truly demonic, dude.
A joint Israeli-US scheme, they say, replaces the UN and keeps food away from Hamas. This video is of the foundation's armed American security guards opening fire.
Is HasanAbi, how is this not like World War II coverage? Please explain. I'm not sure I understand how this is different than World War II. Why? First of all, I don't think it's different than the Holocaust. It's just like the mechanism is different, but the goal overall is not. Okay? But also, the major difference between this and the Nazi Holocaust is that during the Nazi Holocaust, as Bryce Green correctly points to, there was no daily feed of the horrors for the entire world to see, nor was there a previous Holocaust to act as a cautionary tale. Now, one might posit that average German citizens probably were aware of the atrocities, maybe not the scale of the atrocities, but certainly were aware that atrocious things were happening behind those walls in the concentration camps and death camps. But the rest of the world was somewhat oblivious. As a matter of fact, until the camps started getting liberated, the rest of the world had no clue overall. There were some intelligence reports that were ignored. But right now, this is 24/7 live broadcasted. I never thought that we would get to a point where we could see the modern version of the Holocaust happening in broad daylight, where we can talk to the victims, we can see the victims, we can watch these experiences, we can watch them go through these harrowing experiences and feel so powerless in the face of unimaginable evil and cruelty. And there are still people in the Western world worrying about like the way that people call this behavior out, trying to move the conversation and attention away from these starving children back to their own personal feelings. Yeah, Trita Parsi reports Israel is flying quadcopters into the tents of starving Palestinians and shooting pregnant women and women breastfeeding their children. This is a doctor's firsthand testimony. In recent days, I operated on 2 women who were shot by quadcopters while sheltering in their tents near one of the locations, according to the people who brought them in. One was breastfeeding her child when she was hit. The second was pregnant. Thankfully, both have survived their injuries so far. These women weren't even seeking aid. They were simply sheltering in areas that are supposedly safe, but exposed to indiscriminate fire from the IDF's weaponized hunger apparatus. They're Nazis, man. That's it. They're a Nazi country doing Nazi-style atrocities.
I think you hit one.
It was filmed by a US soldier who signed up for the operation in Gaza after he retired and left, he says, when he saw American colleagues and the IDF killing civilians. The soldier is Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Aguilar, a Special Forces veteran of the US Army's Green Berets. He's in Washington. I spoke to him from a spot just near the Gaza border.
I witnessed the Israeli Defense Forces shooting at the crowds of Palestinians. I witnessed the Israeli Defense Forces firing a main gun tank round from the Merkava tank into a crowd of people, destroying a car of civilians that were simply driving away from the site. I witnessed mortar rounds being fired at the crowds of people to keep them controlled.
As a professional soldier with a very long career, what was your professional opinion of what was happening?
My professional opinion of how the sites were established was what I would describe as amateur. Inexperienced, untrained, no idea of how to conduct operations of this magnitude. That would be my most benign assessment. In my most frank assessment, I would say that they're criminal. In my entire career, have I never witnessed the level of brutality and use of indiscriminate and unnecessary force against a civilian population, an unarmed, starving population. I've never witnessed that in all of the places I've been deployed to war until I was in Gaza at the hands of the IDF and U.S. contractors.
Based on the knowledge you have, do you think that you were a witness then to war crimes? I think you're saying that very emphatically.
Without question, I witnessed war crimes. I witnessed war crimes being held.
Bro, you got former U.S. Green Berets who are literally private military contractors. I'm telling you right now, this is this is the worst guy you could possibly have, okay, on the planet. A guy whose job is to go, you know what? I had a shit ton of this conflict. I had so much violence. I experienced so much violence. I did so much violence. And I didn't get enough of it. I'm going to literally become a mercenary. Like, his job is to deliver death for money, okay? Like, this is, like, how do I describe it? It's like in the movies or something when you see like a thief or like a serial killer be like, this is a bridge too far for me. You know what I mean? Like, that's his job is to literally murder for hire, okay? He is a legal assassin. And he's like, this was so depraved that I had to literally throw my professional murder for hire career away and my future prospects in the field of professional murder because this is and stake my. How are you going to compare a Green Beret to a serial killer? Dude, come on. Get real. Not only is this just not some random Green Beret, okay? We're talking about the American military to begin with. He's a guy who literally left the military and then joined a mercenary force, okay? What the do you think what do you think Green Berets do? Do you think they just like get deployed and then tickle people? Is that what you think they're doing? No, they're killing people. What the fuck are you talking about? It's un-American. Yes, they kill people for money. Anyway.
By the Israeli Defense Forces, without a doubt, using artillery rounds, mortar rounds, firing tank rounds into unarmed civilians is a war crime.
People can resist hunger for a long time, but in the end, their strength ebbs away and deaths can rise exponentially. And that is what seems to be happening now in Gaza. Israel insists its forces have not targeted civilians. Now we have eyewitness testimony to add to the considerable evidence that they've done so as a matter of routine.
Yeah, I don't think it's just the IDF that's doing that, by the way. I'm pretty sure a lot of the GHF buddies of his that are there are also doing it. But anyway, that's the situation. And of course, while all of these atrocities are unfolding in broad daylight, in real time, the American government is actively turning a blind eye to it. And I'm going to go hang out with my mom before I go to this event. So this is, I'm ending it here, but I will see you tomorrow and we'll continue along with our coverage.